as we go along.
All right. Well, first of all, it's great to see so many of you familiar faces today, as well as some new ones. And I am excited to be here. I'm taking you from novice to ninja today and things. So just to give you a bit of my background here is I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. That's about 4 hours north drive from the Montana border. It's a city of about 1.4 million people, and it's about a 90-minute drive away from the Canadian Rockies. I spent 16 years as a middle school band and choir teacher with the Calgary Public Board of Education. I had no intention of ever changing careers. I was a lifelong teacher. But then I had a psychotic principal, and I ended up switching gears. And it sounds kind of funny, but whenever I was teaching band and people said, "Oh, if you weren't a band teacher, what would you do?" I actually joked about becoming a wedding planner. So that's what I ended up doing. Um, so in 2008, I jumped in, and it's also the time I joined ABC, and I jumped into the deep end of the pool with no business background whatsoever. So I was trying to wrap my head around business plans, marketing, sales, and of course, all of the actual details involved in skills required to plan weddings. So I do weddings in Calgary and the nearby Canadian Rocky Mountains with couples around the globe who want to get married in the mountains. And I'm currently the only master wedding planner in Canada, but I think there's a couple in Toronto area that are coming close and things that should be there soon. And I've had my wedding and design business for 16 years now. But along the way, I became fascinated by social media and more recently AI. So while I still do a few weddings here and there, my primary business has gravitated and moved as to a social media strategist where I run Savvy Social Slayers, which is a membership community for solopreneurs who want to better learn how to use social media and AI to promote their business. And I also will travel around the country and stuff, speaking at conferences and doing workshops on social media techniques and how to make a better use of AI, which leads us to today's presentation. I am going to just check if everybody could make sure that they're on mute at the moment. We have a little bit of background noise from someone. So just make sure that that's there. That would be fantastic. When we get to some of the questions later, by all means, I have no problem if you want to unmute for those. All right. So, what is AI? Well, it's a branch of computer science that enables us to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. Um, this includes understanding natural language, recognizing patterns, solving problems, and making decisions. We already use it so many regular ways in our lives, such as the smart assistants, so that when we have, when you're talking to Alexa or Siri, or well, usually Siri's talking to you and you're telling it to be quiet because you didn't want it to speak up. Weather predictions and stuff like that are all done by AI. Chatbots. So when we're going on those banking apps or your cell phone providers, those little corners we can't get through to someone, we have to start with the chatbots. Those are all AI. Navigation apps, GPS that saves our lives when we're driving trying to find something, unless it tells us that our location's in the middle of a field. Recommendation systems for products, movies, music. So when you're on Amazon and it's telling you other items you'd like, or even on your computer, when you look up one thing and you start noticing all these ads for things that you like. Spotify suggesting other music or podcasts that you want to listen to. All of those are AI. And of course, on our social media feeds, it analyzes your interactions. And so it can show you more posts that will likely interest you. Now, for wedding professionals and other business professionals, AI can streamline our processes, enhance creativity, and improve client interactions. It helps us automate routines. It provides all kinds of insightful data. We can use it for social media, writing our website copy, marketing materials, business planning, design ideas, client proposals. And what's really, really cool is it keeps adding all the time to what is possible. Now, just really quickly, just so I can kind of get an idea of background of where people are at, could you type in the chat how you're using AI right now for your business? And if you aren't using it yet, that's okay as well. So just say, not yet. But how are you using it right now for your business, just to give me a little bit of an idea? All right. And let me just get back to the Zoom. Okay, I think I have to stop sharing to see the chat. Okay, so we've got people using it to build their websites. Awesome. Emailing proposals, social media, writing review responses to clients. Okay, these are great. And definitely like social media, email, all of those things I know are there and working. Nope, those are great. Fantastic. Okay. So basically, as I said, we have all these things at our fingertips, but most importantly, we use it to save ourselves time. Now, for a second, I want you to picture having access to a world-class kitchen with every ingredient imaginable. So many of us know firsthand from working with incredible caterers the possibilities that lay at your fingertips. The delicious, the mix of flavors and everything like that. But the fact is, without understanding recipes or cooking techniques, you might end up with a mess rather than a gourmet meal. Sorry, what?
I think she just didn't press mute. I
Oh,
got
okay.
her. Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. Anyway, so, but you might end up with a mess rather than a gourmet meal. In the same way, AI is a powerful tool that requires knowledge and practice to turn that raw data into valuable insights and results. So lots of people are using it, but with little to no understanding of the potential that is available to us. And that's what we're going to be looking at today, how to make AI work better for us. All right. So understanding the importance of prompts. So the prompt is a specific set of instructions or question that you give to AI, like ChatGPT, to guide its response. So you ask it a question and it gives you an answer back. And that's how a lot of AI platforms work. And I also want to preface here, I'm going to be talking specifically about ChatGPT because that one is most common for people. It's free and we have access to it. But a lot of this stuff applies to any different ones. Like I know Tash, she mentioned that she uses Gemini a lot. I actually use one called Gigi, which specializes more for marketing and things that way. So there's all kinds of different ones. So the same concepts apply, but we're going to look at with Gigi or ChatGPT. So the prompt, as I said, is the starting point for AI to understand what you need, whether it's generating text, answering a question, or providing a recommendation. So I'm going to start with something really simple here. So a lot of us here are wedding planners. So if we wanted to create a document or a guide about wedding planning for our clients as sort of a starting place and what's going, or else we were creating one for ourselves to kind of create a checklist, I could type in, write a guide about wedding planning. And we're going to pop over here. I'm going to show you in ChatGPT what it gives us back. So when we go into the screen, we can sit there and right here in the middle, we type in the response. Before we start, I usually push this new chat to get things started. But let's take a look here. We've got write a guide about wedding planning. We tell it to go. It usually takes a moment to think. Okay, it's giving us the ultimate guide to wedding planning. We start with the basics, celebrate your engagement, set a budget. There's a few details there, choosing a date, hiring key vendors. dressing the part, so attire, when to look for it, save the dates, plan the design and decor, finalize the details 3 to 6 months, beauty and wellness prep, the final countdown, 1 week, and then the big day. And there's a couple of things like send thank you notes and final thoughts. So as a checklist, that's not bad. It gives us some great information. Here at the bottom, if you always, some of you might not know this, but this is how I take that. If I click on here, it copies that information that's above, and then I can put it in like a Word document or something to save it for later. Now, but what would happen if we gave ChatGPT more information, more details? So now, so we have that first prompt, write a guide about wedding planning, but now let's change it a bit. As a master wedding planner, create, or you could say an experienced wedding planner or whatever, but create a detailed guide for a newly engaged couple who are planning their first wedding. The reason I put the master wedding planner there is I wanted to understand that I am an expert, okay, or that you are. So technically you could write the same thing, that you're a master wedding planner or an experienced wedding planner, but someone who's been doing it for a while, whether you have or not, but you could put that in there. We're writing this detailed guide for newly engaged couples. So that's who we're writing it for. That's our audience who are planning, well, their first wedding. For a lot of our couples are doing it, but we want to make sure that's cemented in the ChatGPT understands that. They want advice on choosing the perfect venue, managing a budget, and creating a memorable experience. I want it to use a friendly and reassuring tone and provide actionable tips and step-by-step instructions. I want to format the response as a comprehensive checklist that they can easily follow. All right, so right there, we're putting a ton more information in. So let's see how it impacts the results. So once again, typed it in. And press go. And this one, it's got to think a little bit more. Okay, so we've got those getting started, but right away we've got more questions like what's the style of the wedding? We've got the budget, but now we're getting the percentages. Okay, tracking everything, choosing the venue. It's asking some of the specific questions that the other one didn't give us. Okay, a few more details on signing contracts and what to look for. Personal touches, there was signage and signature cocktails. Okay, all the things, rehearsal details that weren't in the other one. It's also then giving some bonus tips. So right now, what we have is already way more detailed. And if I had to look at it, both of them are things like I always talk about with AI, it can do 80% of the heavy lifting, and then we have to do the, if I'm looking to get things done, if I give it that little bit more information when I ask for it, it's going to give me way better results, and I'm going to be further ahead than if I take that initial list. Okay. Now, the other thing I could do is I could go back to ChatGPT and perhaps one of the things I could ask it to elaborate on a section. Like if I want even more details, I could go do that. But basically with prompts, we have to be super clear and specific. We want to make sure that they're accurate because those clear prompts helps AI understand exactly what you're asking, leading to more accurate and relevant responses. Efficiency. Specific prompts reduce the need for follow-up. So that saves us time in getting the desired information we're looking for. Consistency. Well-defined prompts ensure consistent results, which is crucial for tasks that require reliability, such as your business communications. Customizing. Detailed prompts allow AI to tailor responses to your specific needs, making the interactions more personalized and effective. Each one of us, although we work in the wedding industry, has a different business. So for example, I'm just thinking, Tammy Waterman lives in Tampa, Florida, and does a lot of beach weddings and stuff like that. So whereas, as I said, mine are in the mountains. I don't have an ocean anywhere near me. So our two businesses are different. Okay. Joel is a DJ. So he is bringing in and he's asking questions that are related to more of that. So there's different things. The other thing we run a problem is when I ask that first question, um, write a wedding guide, ChatGPT seemed to write it as if it was thinking that the person asking was a bride. Whereas when I asked it and said that I was the wedding planner and things, it shifted the mindset a little bit of it and the response. So that more clear that we can be and customize it means that it's going to give us more personalized and effective results. Problem solving, specific prompts helps AI focus on the core issues. Okay, it does a great job, but sometimes I do have to go back and say, yeah, you totally missed the boat, and we have to go back and refine it. So sometimes that's in a way I ask the question. Sometimes it's just because AI misunderstood, but we have to go back and refine. And then finally, learning and improvement. One of the best things about AI is it is learning, it is getting better all the time. Often when you're doing, you're using it and things, you are actually building on the previous knowledge that is there. So if you are always, for example, using stuff in the wedding industry and you're always asking that questions, it starts to make those same assumptions. One of the challenges I found is because I do social media for different companies and stuff like that, is unless I click that new conversation, it would start getting mixed up. So I might be doing something on, social media, and it starts giving me destination wedding planning examples and stuff like that because it was mixed up and thinking that I was doing the same things. So I have to say, start that new conversation. So one of our first pieces of ninja wisdom is the quality of answers you receive is directly proportional to the clarity of the questions you ask. Now, we're going to start getting into some actual steps here. So we're going to create one of the things that often we'll ask any form of AI to do for us is create a bank of social media content ideas that are aligned with your business goals. So a lot of you, and myself included, just usually start, give me 38 days of content ideas related to this, and I put this in. But what I've learned is, once again, if we start getting more specific, we're going to get better results. Now, I will tell you, I do have a handout for you that I'll give you access to at the end, and it has these exact prompts in it, so you don't have to write it down. So this is a sample prompt. I am an experienced wedding, and you could put planner, photographer, DJ, venue owner, whatever it is that your specialty is, that serves newly engaged couples in the whatever area that you're in. So it could be Chicago, it could be Los Angeles, it could be Toronto. I specialize in full wedding planning coordination, wedding and event design, and day of event management. Obviously, if you were a photographer or DJ or venue owner or hair and makeup, you're going to adjust it, but you want to tell it what are the specific services that you do. My clients are often between the ages of 25 and 35 and are seeking the advice of a wedding expert to guide them through the wedding planning journey. Pretend that you're a social media marketing expert. So I'm changing now I'm saying this is what I am, but I want you to take on this role and generate 24 content ideas based on my business from content categories that my target demographic would most align with, and source topics that share unique insights in my field of work and solve real problems or inspire my audience. The next part I'm specifically asking is I want it to come up with 4 different content areas or pillars that my social media is going to be about. So I want 6 ideas for each. And along with those, I want it to provide me with a working title, the main point or message, and why would this resonate with my audience? Okay, so let's actually go give this a shot and try this out. So first of all, I'm going to copy this and we're going to go over into ChatGPT and I'm going to click this new chat and put that in. So we've got that same information that I just shared. Once again, I've got this prompt in a handout for you. All right. So we're putting that in. As I said, a lot of us have seen and asked it to give us ideas. We know what that looks like. And this is always the one part you never know what's going to come up with ChatGPT or things. So category 1 is wedding planning education. Okay. So I got the 12-month wedding planning timeline that actually works. Banff versus Canmore versus Calgary, which location's right for you? So those are some of our mountain communities. What does day of coordination really mean and what it doesn't? Vendor red flags, what I look for so you don't have to. How to create a wedding budget that reflects your priorities. Contracts 101, what you might be missing. Okay, so already there's some really good ideas. They deep dive a little bit more than some of the basic stuff. I mentioned that I do wedding design, so it's given me visual inspiration and design tips. 3 looks, 1 venue, how to style the same space. Okay, I can see that one being pretty good. Our favorite color palettes for mountain weddings in 2025. Florals in the Rockies, what works and what doesn't. How to elevate your wedding with personal details. What rentals are worth the upgrade. Okay, once again, some really good ones. We've got it also suggesting behind the scenes and professional insights. A day in the life. How to turn a Pinterest board into a real wedding. Here's what you don't see in a styled shoot, pulling back the curtains. Why I recommend certain vendors and why that matters. Okay, this one can be the bane of our existence when the couples come in with their super economical choice. How I handle wedding day. So once again, these are really actually good. It doesn't mean that I'm going to do all of them, but they're a lot meatier than sometimes some of the ones. Okay, relatable reels, trends, and emotional content. Okay, we do know social media is a lot about the memes and things I wish I knew before wedding planning. The 5-minute pep talk every stressed out bride needs. Why the ceremony deserves just as much love as the reception. Kate, POV, you realize you can actually enjoy your wedding day because you hired a planner. These ones might need a little bit more thought how you might do them, but they're definitely doable as well. Now, let's go back here to now, the one thing I will recommend is when you using ChatGPT, that stuff comes at you. Yes, you can sometimes go back and look back in its history to find it. But when I create something like this, I usually actually copy those results and then I throw it in a Word document and save it so that when I have to, and it actually sits, I'm trying to think. Yeah, they sit right here on my desk. So when I need to come up with another one, I just can reach over, grab my sheet, and figure out which is my next content that I am going to build. So that's the way we can sit there and get really good content ideas. And even then, if I were going to do it a second time and I like those categories it came up with, I'm going to probably add that in and give the specific content. Or I might use this same prompt and say, these are great. Now give me another 24 based on these same 4 categories. So it'll should, if I'm using that same thread or conversation, it will give me some different ones than it's already suggested because it will remember them when we do that. Now, let's go do the next step. So we got those ideas. Yep.
We got a really good question here from
Sure.
Marsha.
Yeah.
She says, "Do you see? Oh, it's lit up. Do you see the use of AI cutting into our profit margins? Since clients now have AI tools at their disposal, just like we do."
No. AI is it's an incredible tool, but it doesn't do it on its own, and it doesn't replace that knowledge. Like, once again, we asked it, what is the wedding, to write that initial wedding planning guide. It gave us some basic information, but it didn't know to give us when we asked it for more detail, it gave more detail, but the average bride doesn't know to ask those questions. So, yes, it's there, but the level of knowledge and understanding they would have to have. And furthermore, then if you have access to this and can utilize this to its max, like even with social media, one of the challenges that we have, as most of us are solopreneurs trying to do it all, is we only have a limited amount of time. So if I can get really good content and really meaty content, and I'll show you the next part, which is going to create the post for me and stuff, I can get that done now and get my social media done in 15 minutes or less a day. Versus if I try to create it always on my own from start, then that's going to take me an hour or more. So that's energy that I can put in elsewhere to my business. I do think we have to be smart about what we do. We have to look at how we connect with our clients. How do we sell our services? And how do we educate people? Okay, so what is that difference? AI is not going to be there to run the wedding on the wedding day itself. It can't handle the problems or things. You're the person there in advance so that you can, like, one of the things is, yes, I still would do day of coordination, and I would call it day of coordination, but I would tell people that are asking me that our day of coordination starts 3 months before they come in so that we have time to get all the information and spot the problems. I'd also tell them, if someone tells you that they can do it for us, you need to run the opposite direction. So I think and what you're saying is a very real fear, is that AI, of course, there's all the movies and TV shows where AI is taking over the world, but it can't replace what we do. It doesn't replace what we know. We're the ones that take it to that next level and we use it. But it's based on, and as I said, those people that aren't going to use you are the ones that are going to buy the book in the bookstore, the little planner book. Well, that's nice. It also tells them that they can have a wedding for 120 people for $10,000. Well, good luck in my area. Okay, a wedding in Banff for 100 people is easily 45 to 60,000 bare minimum. Okay, it doesn't tell them that. Okay, we know the questions that they should be asking for vendors and quality vendors, and we know to do that. AI can give them some suggestions, but all it's going to do is give them who has the best, probably social media or website traffic. It doesn't check the references and stuff. So when we are talking to clients and selling our services, we got to make sure we include that little explanation. So say when I recommend a vendor to you, I'm recommending people that I have experience with, that I know will give you a fair price. They're the ones that are not going to, one of the things that drives me crazy is photographers, not the good ones, but photographers will sell somebody a 4-hour, 6-hour wedding package, knowing full well that they can't do it in that amount of time and that they'll be able to upsell them and upcharge them later. Okay, to me, that's not, I was going to say, I don't think that's ethical. That we need to be upfront with our clients right from the beginning and let them know. And to me, the photographers that I use will tell a couple, say, yes, I can do the 4-hour package, but that means you're going to have to make decisions and you're going to miss out on this or this or that. Like, they're going to give them all of the information they need up front so they can make the decision that's best for them. So as I said, it's natural for us to have those concerns, but AI doesn't act on its own. It doesn't spot the problems, and it still needs us. Okay, Marsha, I hope that helps. All right. So our next part here is we've just came up with all of those content ideas. And once again, we're looking at time and things that way. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take one of those ideas and turn it into basically fully formed content. And we're going to, so we're going through, we're going to post an idea. I'm also going to ask us to take that information and I'm going to tell it the specific type of content format I want. So oftentimes we're looking at carousels. Carousels are those social media posts that are multiple screens, like they've got multiple graphics. They're great for kind of giving instructions, showing behind the scenes, or like wedding day highlights and stuff. We could be doing an inspirational quote, story, reels, single photos, but we're going to ask it for more details. And once again, in the handout, I've got an example of a prompt for you. Okay. The other part I'm going to mention with this is I mentioned that you should stick in the same threads and stuff. So when I've asked it to create all that content, to save time, I'm going to stay in that same thread when I do this. So here's our next prompt. Whoops. As an expert wedding planner and social media marketing expert, once again, I'm going to make that, tell the AI I want it to be both. I want it to be the expert wedding planner, but I also want it to be a social media marketing expert. Let's develop the content idea. And I took one of the ideas and we copied it down. So I just copy and paste from the above part. Budget breakdown, what real couples spend on weddings in Banff. Main point, educate about local costs with realistic estimates and where to splurge versus save. Why it resonates. So that was that part that it gave us above. Budgeting is one of the top concerns for couples. Local context makes this ultra relevant. Please create a complete educational carousel. So I want one of those step-by-step slides. I want a compelling hook for slide 1 with an attention-grabbing title that's going to appeal to my ideal client. So I'm telling AI specifically, make sure this is going to hit my target audience. Okay, I want it to have that stop the scroll headline. I want 4 to 5 educational value points, less than 25 words, because they tell us when we make those carousel graphics not to put too many words on one slide. And I want 1 point or 1 idea per slide. I want a strong call to action. It should be call to action. It's okay for the final slide. I want an interesting and concise caption. So that's the part we put in underneath the written part with the storytelling element, and I'm putting under 2,200 characters. The reason I add that is because this is for Instagram. Instagram has a limit of 2,200 characters. I could also tell it that I want it to be for Instagram, and it would know that automatically. I also want 5 to 7 relevant hashtags that will attract my ideal client to the post. Okay, so once again, there's a ton of detail in there. I am being really specific with the AI to tell it what I want. Okay, and once again, this one's on the handout that I have for you so that you don't have to write it down. Now, we'll go back and give it a shot. So just a minute. Okay, to save time. So once again, all of them are there. I'm going to just keep going in the same thread. All right, we push go. Okay, so it's giving me what's going to be on each carousel slide. So the first one's a hook, what real couples are actually spending on a Banff wedding. And I could put there as well, plus where to splurge versus save to make the most of your budget. So if I have couples in our area that are looking and checking my social media site right away, that's probably going to grab their attention. Okay, they're telling us the average Banff wedding budget is that amount of money, which is going to shock a lot of people that are looking at that. Okay, we can elaborate on any of these, and that's, once again, I could say and ask it down here. Please elaborate on slide 2 and provide a few more details. See what it says. Okay, so it's giving a few more things. It's giving us 2 things. I can take those and basically edit some of that information in. The other thing that's not there, and once again, this is where you bring your expertise to the table. But one of the reasons that Banff weddings cost so much is we have to bring everything from Calgary. All of the rentals and stuff like that have to be transported out there, which means our delivery, same with flowers and that, our delivery charges are much higher because of that. That's not coming up on here, but that's what I know in my brain, and I can add that. Okay, we'll go back. The slides 3, splurge on photography, save on food with creative service styles. Okay, buffet, family styles. Decor adds up fast. Okay, so right now when I'm looking at this, as I said, every time you do this, you get a little bit different. It went into a little bit more detail when I was trying this last night. It's a little bit light for me right now. I'd probably ask it to go back in more details, but regardless, this still gives me a pretty good starting place when I'm making those carousels, and I can add them. This is the other part. Caption. Once again, I've got this. I can just copy and paste this into social media. Like I said, 80% it does the heavy listening, 20% is us. This is where I would go back, and although I copy it, I would go back and edit it slightly, make sure it sounds a little bit like me, and just make any adjustments to make sure it reflects my beliefs, my philosophy, and things that way. And then, of course, it gives me some of those hashtags. So once again, I can go into great detail, get those really good content ideas, and then turn around and build them. If I wanted to take another one, I could say, now I want to work on a new post. Can you help me elaborate on this one? But this time, maybe I want to do something, a reel, but I might ask it to do a reel script. And once again, in the handout, I gave some examples of the questions that you might ask for each one of those. All right. So our next piece of ninja wisdom is this same kind of concept can be applied when you ask AI to help you write website copy. So when you go into this level of detail and then start asking it to write parts of your website copy, you're going to get a lot better results. If you actually get it to understand who your ideal client is and stuff, it's going to be able to adjust. Some of you mentioned that you use it for emails. Okay, whether you're creating onboarding stuff or answering people, the more detail you can give it, the better your results are going to be. Same thing, blog articles, YouTube or podcast scripts, anything that you're trying to do, this is going to be able to help with. We're seeing now, like with Canva and some of the other ones, I know Jacqueline Watson does this a bunch, but she uses it for design ideas. So she's getting actually into the graphics part behind it and feeding into the AI some of the getting it to take a concept and build it and design it out so there's like visual representations that she can share with clients and stuff. So it's really cool that the possibilities are there. Now, I'm just checking our time. Now I want you to imagine the possibilities if AI could understand how you think, how you write, and how you speak. What if AI could understand your business, including what you do, your experience, and what types of products or services you offer. What if AI could understand who your ideal client is in terms of their demographics? So what age are they? Do you work more with just brides and grooms? Okay. Couples and their parents. What are their pain points? What are their desires, and what kind of transformations do they wish to experience? So like as I said, if AI could understand that, we get amazing results. And it can with what we call an AI business twin cheat sheet. So basically, there are 3 elements that you need to communicate to your AI before you ask it to do anything. To leave it out or omit it would be like going to the hospital and forgetting to tell them you're allergic to certain medications. Now, once again, I've got an exact sheet that's going to walk you through all of this stuff so that you don't have to write it down. But the cool thing is the AI business twin cheat sheet is the secret sauce. Okay. I've taken a number of courses and things, but I call this the $1 million tool that's going to make all the difference in the world and set you apart from some of the other people in your area that do sell similar services. So the first thing is your brand voice. We want it to understand, what do you sound like? What is the tone or style you're aiming for? Is there somebody you want to sound like? What's your business identity? What do you do? What do you specialize in? Where do you operate out of? Like, are you globally or locally? What services do you offer? What are your skills? What is your solution statement? Your solution statement is what you do and how you help people. And then the third part is your ideal client. Who is your dream client? What are their demographics? What are their biggest pain points? What do they most desire? What transformation do you want to occur? When you give AI this information in advance, you're giving it what it truly needs through well-crafted prompts to unleash its full power for you and your business. Suddenly, you become more relatable. Your clients think you know exactly what they want, and better yet, that's when they go, oh my gosh, this person can read my mind. They recognize you in every aspect of your business because it sounds like you. So when they see your marketing materials, they already have an idea that it's coming from your company, or that your website or your social media posts and okay? This really is, as I said, the secret sauce. So this is your AI business twin. We're not going to have time to go through the entire thing, but as I said, I'm going to give you and show you and walk you through all of the instructions. It will give you an unfair advantage against almost everyone else in your area who is only using AI at the surface level. It will take you about 30 minutes or more to work through this and get it done, but I promise you it will be one of the best things you can do for your business, especially if you're using AI. So let's go over and I'll take a look at one of the ones that I've already created. And then I will mention that same thing is, once you got it created, go over and copy it into a Word document. Because what's going to happen is you're going to use that document and copy your AI twin sheet and then put it into your ChatGPT or AI platform, like before you even do some of those other exercises that we taught. Like if you give it the AI twin sheet and then ask it to create your content, you're going to even get better results than what we saw. All right. So first of all, I'm just going to show you here a little bit. Let's see here. This here is my AI twin sheet for my Savvy Social Slayers business. So basically, I sat through it and worked through these exercises, and it gives me a description of my brand voice, summary, my style preferences, a lot of the common words and phrases that I use. Okay, it tells me who I sound like. I was like, ooh, Marie Forleo, Gary Vaynerchuk, Mel was like, okay, that's cool. I like sounding like them. That was kind of good. It talks about the target demographics for my business. And once again, this is all information you're going to feed into it. It talks about what my business is, what it does. It talks about some of the key messages. And as I said, it's the summary. And when I give that summary, it helps out and does a fair amount of information. Now, just to show you here, this is one of the handouts that I have for you. So this is how you're going to create your AI business twin sheet. So I'm going to put the links and stuff so you can get them. When you open the Google Doc, make sure you click file and make a copy of it. Okay, don't go in and start changing things in the existing document. You want to download your own copy. The other thing is there is a button usually in the file menu that also says download. So you can download it as a Word document, which means you can write in it, or you can download it as a PDF to save it. And I'll be honest, I usually do both. I save it as a PDF so I can't mess it up, and then I save it as a Microsoft Word document so I can play around with it. So this is part one. You're going to develop your brand voice. What I want you to do is you're going to pull content from emails, social media posts you've done, blogs, newsletters, magazine articles, anything that you have written that you think best describes your voice. It says to start with 3, but the more you add, the better it's going to get. So like if you can put in like 10 different pieces of writing, it's going to really get to know who you are. So you're going to copy and prompt and paste into ChatGPT. So here's the prompt. Analyze the following pieces of content and provide a detailed breakdown of my voice, identity, tone, style, personality traits, and put that in. And then I would actually paste one of the pieces there. And I'm going to say, I might write content example 1. Okay. Then I might add the second one. And I probably have to go and here is another example of my writing and keep adding them because there is a character limit in ChatGPT and most other AI platforms. Once I've put those examples in, this is step 2. Based on the voice analysis, what well-known figures, authors, or influencers have a similar tone. This is the part where you can usually feel kind of good and say, oh, I sound like that person. Step 3, we're going to ask it to remove all asterisks and number signs. So oftentimes when you copy and paste, there's some weird formatting usually that comes up and things, and you've got all these asterisks and stuff like this. We're going to ask it to take it out. And sometimes you have to ask it to do twice, but you're literally going to copy these exactly and put them in. Okay. You're asking it to put into a 500 words and then 500 character breakdown and include the following. So what's the voice and tone? You don't have to change these things. You're giving it an example to say, what is the voice and tone? And it's going to base it on your content writing. And then finally, when you get all those results, you're going to copy and paste it here in this section because you're going to have to come back to it. The second part is you're going to add now the information for your target audience and business. So you're going to go through and this one you are going to have to fill in. What are the demographics of your ideal clients? What are their pain points? And sometimes you might, once again, ask ChatGPT or the AI platform you use, say, put in some of the demographics, but ask them what would be some of the pain points that newly engaged couples might be experiencing, or what are their desires? Okay, when I say desires, obviously we can think of the passionate kind of stuff, but it really means, what do today's couples, why would they want to hire a wedding planner or a really good DJ? So when we're talking about that, what is their, like for the DJ, they want a really good party. That's one of their primary things. So they're looking for someone who can bring that to them. Okay, in your business, what do you do? How do you help people? So you're going to fill in those specific things. Once you've got that filled in, you're going to say, Same thing, copy the entire including and use the following prompt. You're going to put that in and then copy all of that business information there. Okay, same thing. Once you've done it, you've got the results there. This is the part 2. And then you're going to combine the 2 together with this prompt. And then your final results are going to be your AI twin sheet. And as I said, what I do nowadays is whenever I start to do content planning or things, is I will go back, copy it from my Word document, and throw it in to remind it what I want AI to know before I get started.
That is great. And Kathy, we have like a ton of questions for you.
Okay, so that actually there. So just a minute, before I forget, I just got to go back to grab it here. I am going to put that link in there so people can start getting those.
All
and
right.
if you go here and fill it in, it should send it to you in an email. But I'm also making sure I spell it right. Okay, there's my email as well. So if you have any problems with it, that's my email so that you can send it to me and say, I had problems getting the documents, send it to me and we'll get it sorted out. But let's start with some of the questions. And
All
some of you,
right.
I do know, I want to be sensitive to time, might have to run. Thank you so much for today, but I'll stay and answer questions until we get there. Okay.
Awesome. So the first one is, will Chat GPT do all of this if you're not paying for the subscription?
The best thing about ChatGPT, okay, let me go back. Canva. First time I used Canva with the free version, I wanted to huck my computer across the room. What I learned is I have champagne tastes. So everything that I liked on Canva, you have to pay for. And the only way that I could make Canva my friend is to pay for the pro membership. But ChatGPT is different. Now, this may change eventually, but the free version is just as good as the paid version. The only difference still at this point is 2 things. The higher level versions that they're beta testing, the paid users get to use more. Like I think it's ChatGPT 4 or something like that, where those that are on the free version are more basic. The other thing is in periods of extreme high volume use, the free people get bumped. So there was one day, literally, I was typing in, nothing was happening, and I noticed that the icon was, the ChatGPT icon was orange instead of green. It took me a while to notice it. And I said, like, it can't work. But when that was the big thing. And I just came back 90 minutes later and it worked. So yes, you can pay for it if you want, but the free version truly works amazing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Heather, I've noticed she pays for ChatGPT because she uses as well to create spreadsheets with data that she inputs using voice to text. Like there's the other thing that's really cool, and I know I can do it with Gigi, but I can talk to it. Christina Stubblefield, also, she ends up having to drive a lot in her vehicle. So she says that she actually will have, she uses one of the paid versions, but she will actually have conversations and start telling it to do things so that when she gets home, all of those conversations, like she will say, start a new chat. And she's trained it to listen to her and start the work so that when she gets home, she can pull it out from that menu that's on the far side. Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. And then the
What's our
next
next
question
one?
is, does AI add or create graphics?
Yes. So there are some features. In Canva, I've been playing around with a bit. You do with Canva have to use the paid version to do it, but there's an area, Canva Magic, I think it is, that you can start doing it. One of the things I've noticed is when I ask it to do things, there's usually some part of the drawing that's not quite right. So for example, on Canada Day, which is like your 4th of July, I had it do a welcome message, and I was trying to do our national animal is the It's not a very, very powerful animal, but it's a beaver. So I had a beaver, and I was telling it to be in a little RCMP uniform with the red serge and the hat and stuff, and it had the flag was weird. Like the flagpole broke off and then started coming out of his hat and stuff like this. So those tools are getting better. There are some different programs as well that focus in on that. I'd have to look some of them up because, as I said, I use it more for that. I'm just getting more into the graphic stuff, but there is some really cool stuff on that. And as I said, I know some of the planners are using it to come up with actual design, like they're putting in the palette colors and stuff and giving it description to come up with inspiration pictures for design presentations.
Awesome. And does Google well, you probably know this, that when you use AI on your website, does Google like the copy and add that into your SEO, or is it recognizing it as AI and not, sending the spiders there?
Well, okay, so I remember once reading a magazine article that was written on ChatGPT, and the author used ChatGPT to write the article. So when it was interesting, when you looked at the article in the magazine, every paragraph was exactly 5 sentences long. And every paragraph, the first, the second, or the third word was ChatGPT. Like you could see right away that it was created by artificial intelligence. This is well where you're putting that information in. I rarely take what is exactly given and use it exactly as. I talked about that 80% and 20%. So I will take what it's got and then I will fine tune it. The really cool thing that I found is when I'm using that AI twin sheet that understands how I write, what phrases I use, who I sound like, and my brand voice, it's now getting way closer initially than what I used to. Okay. So as long as you're right, you don't want it to sound robotic. Okay. Google doesn't care one way or the other. Okay. And technically, to be fair, you could argue it back for either way. But the closer it can get to sound like you, the better off you're going to be. Okay. It's the same as when you're speaking to your ideal clients, whether it's on social media, whether it's on your website, you want to create a connection. So what are the words and phrases? And maybe that's another thing you're going to ask it when it's analyzing those writing. One of the questions was, what are the common words and phrases? Maybe you're asking it, what are the common words and phrases that are going to appeal to your couples, and incorporate them into your posts? Because once again, that's what you're trying to do. The whole point of social media is to create a connection. And that's what you want on your website. You want your couples to come to your website and fall in love with it and going, oh my gosh, this is the person that gets me. This is who I want. This is the golden vendor. We don't care how much it costs. We want them. So you're right. It's important to think about those things, but this is why you've got to put your 20%, your brand voice and personality into it.
Awesome. Awesome. And I know it's 1 o'clock. So if you guys have to sign off, please go ahead. If you could stay just for a couple more minutes, Kathy, there's a couple more really good questions. One of them was the summary that you upload, like your brand voice and such, can you update that at all
Yes.
into your system?
So if I'm doing it often, like say the same week, I will keep using that same thread and I'm good. But even if I'll ask it sometimes is, do you remember our conversation about my AI twin sheet? And sometimes it says yes, and other times it says no. So then if it doesn't remember it, I just feed it in again really quickly. Okay.
Awesome.
But yeah, if it's been a couple of weeks, I usually have to do it. And the other thing I'll mention with your AI twin cheat sheet is you should probably update it at least like maybe every 6 months or a year, like because your business shifts, your priorities shift a bit. So you want to stay current and things. But as I said, it's easy to do. What's our next one?
Oh, the next one is a good one. If they need help, how do they contact you?
Okay. Once again, you're probably best. And I actually that's there, and I'm throwing it in the chat again. But there's my email. Definitely
Oh,
reach out and do that as well. If you go on to Instagram, there's two of them. You can find me there or at this one. Send me a DM. Okay, so on Instagram, go into either one of those and do it. I'm on there pretty much every day. You can message me on Facebook as well, but I'm better at responding there than some, like it can be a couple of days before I get around to Facebook or Messenger. So I'll eventually get to you, but in things I just don't get there as often. But by all means, and I mean this with all sincerity, if you've got a question, I I I value my people that I've met through ABC. I want you to ask the question. I want to help you get over the hurdle so you get unstuck and can get on with things. So I can probably answer it pretty fast and get you moving and rolling on in the right direction. So I don't mind questions at all. Okay, are there any more?
awesome. There's a whole lot.
Okay,
So, what about AI and video?
once again, there are some ones that are coming. I've played with some a bit on Canva, but once again, I have to dive into that a bit more. A lot of once again, the good video ones, you got to pay for. Same with the good graphics ones. You got to pay for those a bit. So I've kind of been, yes, it's sort of a next area that I want to dive into a little bit more. But until I'm really digging in there a bit more, there's only so many subscriptions I want to pay for each month. So
That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you, Kathy. I know last time when you did this, it blew my mind, and you've done so again. So, but I will definitely email a replay of the video out to everyone, along with the links to the documents
okay.
that Kathy had said. So you'll get that probably later today.
Okay.
And
Well,
definitely, reach out to Kathy if you guys have any questions
thank
or
you
need some
so
help.
much for this opportunity. I appreciate all of you being here. I know you're busy. There's a never-ending to-do list, and of course, for many of you, you're right in the midst of wedding season and stuff. But if there are any questions, whether it's related to this or something else, please do not hesitate to reach out, and I'm happy to help. So thank
Sounds
you guys
good.
very much, and have an amazing week.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.